Hello, girls, guys, or otherwise. This is Rich with your Witchy Book Club series. I'm hitting the mic over here, messing all up. I do hope that the sound from this is adequate, and I hope the visuals are adequate. I have the best setup that I can get as of right now. Um, I am in Dover. I'm going to be doing a fair number of videos down here. Probably a lot of Table Talk Thursdays and Tarot Talk Tuesday videos down here. Um, because those are easier ones for me to do where I'm just sitting here talking and whatnot. So, anyway, I hope this is satisfactory. At very least, I had some camera issues yesterday and yeah, like my camera was like crapping out, and I think it's that my computer, because of where I have it, was just getting a little heated up and needed a cool down session. So yeah, I wanted to make a video last night, and I'm like, oh, okay, my camera's crapping out. I may have to go get a new camera because it was doing like weird shades of like yellow and green and purple and all that. I'm like, what is going on here? So I was sitting there, I'm like, okay, I can't make a video if this is going to be the quality that it's going to be. And yeah, I turned off the computer, let it sit for a little bit, and I actually went to a casino, which I have not done in a long time, especially since COVID hit. So, yeah, seeing that I am all vaccinated and whatnot, I can actually go out and do that without having to worry about myself or others, which is a nice little thing to do. And I don't go that often, but I do enjoy having a night out at a casino every once in a while. So, nice little outing. And then today was kind of a lazy day. It was just, I did not have the energy to like really sit here and make a video until about right now, which I am recording this at 6:15. So this is going to be coming up a little bit late, and I have no clue what tomorrow's video is going to be on, but I'll think about of something. Um, yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and get on into the uh, Ouija Book Club series. We are covering Chapter 6, Lesson 2, The Elements in the Outer Temple of Witchcraft, by Christopher Penzak. If you don't have your copy, as per usual, I will leave a link, an Amazon link, in the description box below. Just to let you know that I'm going to move this mic because I'm going to end up bumping it a lot if it's sitting right there where my hand is at. I do have a, let me just go ahead and show this off for a second here. This, hold on, give me 1 second. This is a nice little computer stand that I got off of Amazon for like 30 bucks, and you can adjust it and whatnot. And I'm going to actually use this as a podium uh, for reading today's parts and whatnot. I hope give me 1 second. Let me reposition that. Hopefully I don't bump it. So, because I know that comes out annoying sounding and whatnot. So yeah, that's the setup that I have going here. Let me go ahead and turn off the light there. I do kind of look jaundice in this. I'm perfectly fine. It's the camera lighting and the lighting in the hotel room and whatnot. Not exactly the best, and it would actually be better if the desk were over there next to the window, because then I could get natural light in. But I'm not moving, a hotel room's desk over to the window to just have to move it back. Yeah. If I'm going to be doing marathon videos or something like that, maybe I would, but I have everything plugged in here and set up here. I don't want to take a risk of unplugging everything and then having to move it all and then plugging it back in. I don't even know if there's a plug over there. Anyway, all that stuff. So this is going to be a thing with the setup for the next few videos here. Again, I hope the sound quality and the video quality aren't too distracting. And yeah, if it is, then I guess I'll just redo the entirety of this video. But it should be okay um, from what I was doing on my tests and whatnot. Should be okay. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into Chapter 6, Lesson 2, entitled The Elements. As per usual, we are going to start with the first sentence, in this case, the first two sentences I have picked out here, to see how we really start out this chapter. He writes, everything is made up of four elements: earth, air, fire, water. The elements are building blocks of reality. Good entry into this discussion on the elements. I think that is probably the best way of coming up with the introduction to a topic on the elements. So on page 92, and I'm going to go through these pretty quickly because I do have a lot of things to read and I don't want to be sitting here for an hour and a half going through stuff and having conversations and whatnot. But I do want to touch on certain things here and there. On page 92, the elements are not literal, quantifiable substances contained in all things. Even though they are named after substances, the elements are immeasurable archetypal energies of creation. Yeah, I think that this needs to be kept in mind that these are archetypal energies. These are things that represent um, things beyond what they are called. So air is not just air or incense or anything like that. It is a placeholder name for something bigger, something more immeasurable that you can't really put a name to, but it is an energy of certain things, and we give it the name of air because that's the easiest thing to equate it to for our human brains. He says, continuing here, a couple sentences down, other hold on, let me try to read this again. Other cultures have recognized these energies but named them differently. I think this is important to note because we do have multiple cultures that will recognize the same terminology for things of different names. This is why I don't like labels. I think labels are for soup cans, and as long as if we give a standard definition of this is where I'm coming from, this is what I'm talking about here, I think that is a way of giving everybody a jumping off point. Wow, I have a lot of glare here. Hold on. Oh, there we go. That's a little bit better, and that's less light in my eyes. Fantastic. I'm a little bit more washed out, but I don't care. Anyway, I want to continue on to page 93. Each element contains its own blessings and gifts. Each contains its own challenges and fears. Working with the elements is the path of balance because you balance these gifts and challenges in the way that uniquely suits you. So I think this is important that just because you if you are working with one element, okay, say you're working with earth and earth energy, know that working with earth energy comes with fantastic gifts. But it also comes with its challenges, and that's something you need to keep in mind because, yeah, everything can be all lucky, go merry, and everything. However, there's also a trade-off to it. There are things that we are going to be challenged on, and you need to be you need to have that in your mind as something that is going to be a thing whenever you are working with an element. And it's really the sense of balance and balancing out who you are and what you need to work on and all that other stuff that that's really going on here. So keep that in mind whenever you are working with elements, that yes, you're going to have challenges that are given to you when you work with a certain element. You're also going to have great payoffs to that, but keep in mind there is payment in the challenges. It's not going to be an easy road just because you say, "Hey, I'm working with air energy and the fantastic intellect that comes along with it." You know, it's also going to challenge the way you think of things and the way that you perceive things, um, and possibly seeing things from a different angle and whatnot. It's going to stretch your creativity. It's going to stretch the way that you envision things or the way that you relate to things from an intellectual standpoint. Um, moving on page 94. For the ease of understanding, most traditions place the elements and the doorway to the elements in four sacred directions corresponding to the cardinal points: north, east, south, west. These points become anchors in our sacred circle. As realms exist between worlds, so does the circle of the witch. This is something I want to touch on. Whenever you are creating circle, you are no longer in this one area. You are no longer, if I were to do one here, I am no longer in just Dover, Delaware. Physically, I am, but on a spiritual level, I am in the ether. I am in a sacred space at that point, and I am working with the elements, and I am um, preparing a temple for deity at that point in time, or preparing a temple for a working in that place and time. So that's something to keep in mind whenever you're talking about working with not only elements, but whenever you're working in circle and whatnot. It is something beyond the physical. You are in essentially a different realm. So yeah, I just wanted to touch on that. Still on page 94, next paragraph down. A great debate exists among traditions as to the right or true way of laying out the elements in or with the directions. True. Now, as much as I respect the Golden Dawn tradition, and I can see where they're coming from on certain areas, the thing that gets me still, and the thing that I've had to train my brain for whenever it comes with to tarot, is that in that tradition, uh, a blade or sword or athame is considered air. Uh, in my practice, it's always been seen as fire because you use fire to make a blade. However, they see it as a way of cutting through the air, and the wand being wood is easily burned, so they see that as fire. I've always been the other way around on it. For me, a wand wood being air is because that's where the branch is, and I've already given my explanation on the athame, the dagger, the sword, whatever you want to call it, the ritual blade. So yeah, this is something I wanted to touch on because it's going to be different for each individual person, depending on your tradition, or depending on uh, your surroundings, even for certain individuals. If you have an ocean to the east of you, then the east might be considered water for you. If you have mountains to the south of you, instead of the south being fire, then the south may be earth because you have these huge mountains there. So that might be something that um, pertains to you in your practice, and it could change over time. For me, earth is always north, just the way that I conceptualize it in my mind, and the way that the witch's pyramid goes, and all that stuff. Air is always east. That's where you start. You start with the idea. Then you go into the south and you do, you have your passions and the fire and whatnot. You go to the west in water and your emotions, and then to the north where you have that physical representation, or that physical being coming into the world there. So for me, it's always been those are the solids, and that's where they're at. And don't try to screw with my mind on this. But I can totally understand how different people see it in different ways depending on their location or depending on their tradition. So, yes, something I do understand there, and I just wanted to point that out. Further on down that paragraph, once you have a strong understanding, foundation, and experience, never fear experimentation if you are intuitively called to do something different. Again, I just want to point that out and reiterate it because I think that is important. Experimenting with different things and whatnot can be beneficial and can help grow your practice. For me, if I were to change up the directions, I think I know I would get royally confused. Um, it took me years to train myself to know that air equals swords in the tarot. It's something that I kept on for the longest time getting caught up on, and it's something that, finally I have that understanding. So I I don't think I could change it just because I know how confused I would get. But if you are experimenting, I fully support that. And I think that people should if they're not going to get easily confused like my small little tiny man brain. Anyway, moving on to page 96. I have a couple paragraphs here that I wanted to read because they are fantastic paragraphs. And this is in the section called Elemental Guardians. In ritual, witches and magicians call upon elemental guardians, those with power or dominion in each elemental realm, to open a gateway to that realm and bring in exactly the right amount of energy for that ritual. Sometimes called the guardians, the watchers, the watchtowers, or the guardians of the watchtowers, because they maintain the balance between elements. These beings have dominion over the given elemental sphere they maintain. I think this is me now. I think this is important to note because a lot of people don't get into this type of exactness and explanation in why we are calling things what we are calling things. And I really like that he put this in here, and you don't see that many times in a 101 type of book or in many witchcraft books. You don't see that. It's like, these are the elements, this is what they're used for, use this rote chant or meditation or this this way of doing ritual in order to invoke them into your circle. So I like that he went in here and actually said, this is why we call them what we do. Moving on, imagine the guardians control the doorway, or more appropriately, a lens, and only let the perfect amount of energy into the sacred space to blend with the others. They prevent too much or too little coming in, as well as moderate the rate so it is not overwhelming for the magic at hand. In the end, the elemental guardians are the partners of the witch. They are our partners of creation. Without them, magic can still work, but it is not as powerful, nor as moving a spiritual experience. Through the elemental guardians and the ritual of the magic circle, we awaken all aspects of ourselves: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Again, I wanted to read this solely because it is so well put in there. He explains it very well as to why it is in there and why we are doing what we do, which the why behind what we do is something that I am very much here for. Moving on, I have underlined here the image and name we invoke for the guardians varies among individual practitioners. This is on page 97. So I want to talk a little bit about, I have here general talk about calling elements. Okay. So whenever we're calling the elements, there are so many different ways to invoke these elements and what we see them as. Again, certain traditions see the athame or the ritual sword as being an air element, and having that image, whereas I see the wand as the air element and having that image. So what I wanted to touch on here is that there are different ways of calling the quarters, calling the elements, and setting up circle in that way. And whatever way you do it is going to be your own. And I actually encourage people to come up with their own way of calling the quarters, whether it is the general way that he gives. I think it's later on in the chapter about one of the people goes around, holds open her arms and says, "Welcome, earth," or "Welcome, air," whatever. And then whenever they depart, they say, "Thank you." And they blow a kiss. And it's like, okay, that's a thing. And it works beautifully for them. I cannot do that. I am a little bit more, if I'm going to set up circle and I'm going to do the call the quarters and all that stuff, if I'm going to do it, it's going to be specific and it's going to be a written out way of stating a welcome. You can do it off the seat of your pants, absolutely. And one practice that I'm actually going to undertake is writing my own invocation of the elements, because I usually go with "Hail to the guardians of the element," or "Hail to the watchtowers of element, guardians of the elemental type," and all those in the ancestral realm. I think I have it written down. I haven't read over it in a while, and I always have my Book of Shadows out whenever I'm performing circles, so I don't have to memorize it. Welcome to my circle, hail or something like that, and then I light the candle. It's something along those lines. I should have probably gotten out my Book of Shadows, which is actually in this closet right here. But yes, I have the same thing that I've done for years in my Book of Shadows, and it works for me. But I'm actually going to do an undertaking of rewriting that and putting my own words on it, maybe adding a little bit more of a flowery poetry of sorts, and maybe I'll share that with you for a Witchy Wednesday. I think that might be a thing. I'll think it over. Okay. Let's see. I also wanted to talk about angels here, because he does mention angels. He touches on it, and he does say in here that, angels aren't necessarily strictly Christian. And I think that's important to note that, not only the Judeo-Christian or the big three, the Abrahamic religions, they do not hold ownership of angels and angelic beings. So I wanted to touch on that because it is okay to use them, even though for many of us, I think, whenever we are invoking angels, if you are invoking angels, that is something that seems inherently Christian in nature. And a lot of people try to get away from that. I would kind of embrace that, depending on exactly what type of angel that you're uh, trying to invoke. If it's an archangel, that's one thing. Of course, different angels have different powers and different responsibilities, and are either good or bad. So that's something to keep in mind if you are looking into invoking angels. Make sure that you're specific on which ones. Moving on, I have a little bracket here on page 99 uh, saying to talk about seeking out tools. Yes. Okay. We're going to have a little discussion here about tools because he does state in here you will begin the quest for these tools for your altar when you start the quest. Okay. And he talks about how it might be hard to find, a chalice, or, even though it's just a cup and you can use any old cup, finding the specific one may pose a challenge. And I know there are some people out there that the tools come to you, and totally for that. There are some people out there that are like, I don't need any tools. Screw tools. And I'm okay with that too. I'm one that I wanted like the entire altar setup. I went out and I splurged. This is back whenever I had I had a full-time job and an apartment that cost, next to nothing compared to a mortgage. Actually, a third of what my mortgage costs. And yeah, those were good times because I had a good savings, and I would go to the local witchy shop and I basically bought the place out. Um, Whenever I first started out, I would come home with a stack of books. I would come home with altar tools, new altar tools. I would come home with candles galore, or herbs or stones, whatever I was studying. I would come home with everything I could get my hands on. So yeah, that's I do know the pain of, yeah, but I really want this particular thing. And now I would urge past me, save your money, because the chalice that you might pick out there is not the chalice that's meant for you. You guys, sorry, you all have seen my chalice in the past. I've had it in videos, I've used it in videos in the past. That one is hand blown from a glass blower that does the Renaissance fairs in New Jersey. And I don't know if he's still doing it. I don't know if he's still at the Ren fairs. I missed this year's Ren fair. It was raining and I forgot until like the day after, like later in the day on that Sunday, whenever it was already closing out. And I was pissed. But I got it at a Ren fair, and it's hand blown and it has blue and white and it's absolutely beautiful and I love it. I would urge people, if you are just starting out, please shop around. Find something that really calls to you. Don't just go getting all the tools because you think you need all the tools. Really put it through the ringer whether or not that tool is really made for you and really needs to be in your home. The Athame that I have, while I love it, it is a mass-produced Athame. The other one that I have, the other ritual blade that I have, that I actually want to use for different rituals that I haven't yet, because I want to do some things to that, is actually something that I found along the way of buying and selling and, trading things here and there. And I kind of love it because it has all those different colors to it. And if I was in the witchy room, I would pull it out right now and show you. But it's something that I wish I had earlier on because it is so different from a mass-produced piece that is just to look witchy and whatnot. And I think it will work very well. And that's yet to be seen, but I went out and got my first Athame, just put money down on it and just took it home that day. Didn't really sit there and think about, is this the one for me? And I kind of regret it. I've had a lot of good experiences with the tools that I've bought in the past. However, I think it's more important that you know which tools you're getting for what reasons, and making sure that they are meant to be with you rather than just going out and buying stuff. And let me also shamelessly plug that I do have my eBay store up and running. I am still adding things to it. I have over 300 items on there right now, and I have a lot of things ready to list. Unfortunately, I didn't get any of the books and whatnot up. I didn't get pictures of them or get them put up yet. But I have about 300 items that some of them can be good ritual items. I have goblets and cups and glasses and whatnot. So, go shop my store. Help support me. Be great. So yeah, if that's something that you would like to do, just to see if I have it, I do give deals out and whatnot. So if the price is out of your ballpark, let me know, and we will negotiate. So just putting that out there, shameless plug. Link is in the description below. And while you're down there, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that bell notification, because maybe YouTube will let you know whenever I upload a video. No guarantees on that. Anyway, getting back to this, because, we're only half an hour in. That's not bad. Still on page 99, I have a couple things bracketed here, which means read the entire stinking paragraph, which is going to be daunting. Hold 1 second because I need a drink. Ooh, that coffee is still hot. The hotel has coffee. I keep on going over to the lobby, which is like across the building, across the parking lot in the next building, just to get the free coffee. Kind of loving it though. So anyway, under gateways to the elemental realms, in ritual, the witch opens the gateways to the elemental realm, calling upon the guardian to bring the energy into the sacred circle. Through the use of several techniques, the witch's intent acts like a key, opening the lock between worlds and opening the gateway to individual realms. I love this. I love the way that he writes this. It is very impactful, and I'm going to continue on. Come on now. Specific traditions have specific keys. Eclectic traditions seem to use different keys unique to each practitioner and ritual. Those in a very traditional structure compare these gateway opening formulas to chemical formulas. If you do it exactly the right way with the right words and gesture, the gateway automatically opens. This gives rise to a Hollywood movie idea of magic where one can stumble across the right words and phrases and cast a powerful spell. Eclectic practitioners see their rituals more like cooking than chemistry. As long as hold on. Come on, mouth. As long as you have the basics, you can feel free to be creative. The most important ingredient is intent. If you have proper intent and energy behind your action, then it will work. Anyone can say magic words, but if they are not fueled by intent and focus, the magic won't go far. This is the true heart of magic. Love the way he puts this here, and I could not agree more. I am admittedly one of those more ceremonial, this is the way you do it. These are the ways that you do it, the gestures that you use, the movements that you make, the words that you say, the way that you intone and whatnot. I think that is important for my practice because I come I'm obviously in the military. I'm down here on my annual tour for the reserves. Coming from the military, I have gotten into the structuring of my life. Not always something that works for me, admittedly. However, the structure of life, or trying to have a structure of life, is important to me. It keeps me, on a right track. One thing that I needed to do whenever I went from full time to part time working, at the storage unit facility, is I needed to sit down and do a schedule. And the schedule was basically, this is what time you need to get up every morning. This is what time you need to do to be working on eBay. This is what time you need to be working on doing videos. If you have research to do for videos, this is the time that you need to set aside to do that. Whenever you're shooting videos, this is the time slot that you have for that. And one thing that is important to me is I need to keep to that schedule. Otherwise, I fall behind and I end up making a video at almost 10 to 7 on a Saturday whenever it was supposed to go up at midnight going into Saturday, like now. Not keeping to a set schedule is something that is detrimental to my day-to-day life. So that's something that I need to keep in mind for me. Now, there are some people out there who can do a ritual at the seat of their pants, and that's fine, and it works well for them. I am a more structured person, like this is the set way you need to do it, and that works for me. If you are ever in a ritual with me, you will notice there's a set structure. We set up the area. We we do the circle, then we call the elements, or we cleanse a circle, then call the elements, and then invoke deity, and then we do whatever workings we need to do, cakes and ale, what you call it, you say farewell to the deity, then you say farewell to the elements, all in reverse. So yes, there's a set way that I do a ritual. And Annie did a video. It's been a while. Annie did a video on how she does ritual. And I think I might actually kind of ride on her coattails on that one and do a Witchy Wednesday for that. Because, my ritual setup is kind of different. So, or kind of different than some others. Still a fairly standard way of practice. But I'm right now revamping the way that I do ritual and whatnot too. So I may share that in a future Witchy Wednesday video of the steps for my particular ritual setup. Anyway, I want to go to page 105. And the reason I wanted to go in on that, or go that far, is because he talks about tools and gestures and all that other stuff. And it's not that it's not good information, it's just stuff that did not spark needing to be talked about. Here's something that I actually want to try, and it's on page 105. In the Middle Ages, witches were said to use the pentagram for protection, much like Christians make the sign of the cross. The self-blessing was from the left breast, brow, right breast, left shoulder, right shoulder, and then again at the left breast. So, yeah, okay. So it's bum, 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 bum. Okay, got it. And I actually want to try this as a protection ritual to see how well that works for me. So I do have a note here on page 108. And if any of you have tried that as a form of protection, let me know, because yeah, I kind of want to know how everybody's mileage varies on that one. Page 108, I have a note here on the invoking and banishing pentagrams for each one of the elements. And I always found this difficult to remember. These, I've always had difficulty remembering which one starts where and in which direction it goes. So that's not something that I've really ever kept to. And seeing that I want to get my practice a little bit more structured than what it was in the past, and coming up with my own methodologies and my own methods for everything, I kind of want to incorporate that because I do like how each one is specific to an element, but I have such a hard time remembering where it starts and which direction it's going in. So, does anybody else have that complication? Because to me, that is like one of the most complicated things. Moving on to page 113. Where are we at on time here? Okay, we're at 40 minutes. That's still not terrible. We've had over an hour on these. Um, on 113, you already contain, this is under astrology and the elements, you already contain and embody all the elements within you. You have a body, which is earth, a mind, which is air, emotions, which are water, and a soul, fire. You exist within these four realms already, but one may prove more of a challenge or offer a strength. Okay. One way of determining what element is offering both challenge and strength is your astrology. And then he goes into astrology. I will say, I am terrible whenever it comes to astrology. I actually thought I had a note in here, but yeah. He says in here, witches often study astrology. I cannot wrap my head around astrology. Tarot, yes. Okay, got it. Runes, kind of. They're difficult because they're just a bunch of lines. But after you're working with them a while, it kind of, uh, has a fluidity to it. Astrology always confused the hell out of me. And it's one of those things that you can spend a lifetime studying and still not understand everything about it, which bugs the hell out of me. And I already have something like that called tarot that bugs the hell out of me, that I can never understand everything of tarot given a lifetime of study. So it can be frustrating that it's a constant learning thing. I like to have my learning complete, which in spiritual practices, yeah, you're not going to be fully complete on your spiritual knowledge. So, something that I've struggled with in the past. But astrology has always been one of those things I'm like, really don't feel like I'm ready for this because it does get into a lot of things really quickly, and I get lost in I get lost in it uh, because I don't know what one thing is talking about in conjunction with another thing. Just totally boggles my mind, and it's a lot of things that you have to learn. I have mad respect for people who are astrologers, and I will let them have that. I'll take tarot. Thank you. um, moving on to page 117, I have a sentence underlined here. Trials of spirit are the most difficult, but give the greatest rewards. I just wanted to note that because I think that is absolutely true. And we also have some rituals in here. Um, you know what? I might actually do these rituals. I haven't been doing all of the rituals just because some of them don't speak to me at all. Um, some of them do, and yeah, some of them just don't. And I usually call them out. These ones seemed intriguing and I want to try them. So, yeah, that's something that I'm going to be trying. Complete exercise. Our homework is complete exercises 7 through 10. Record experiences in your book of shadows. Research your astrological sun sign, although most astrology books write sun sign descriptions as your personality type. Think of it more as who you are learning to be in this lifetime. Think of your sun sign as your teacher. What is the highest expression of your sun sign energy? Meditate on its gifts and challenges to you. Continue journaling regularly, which I have been failing at. but yeah, I do see me. I've already researched my sun sign. I'm a Capricorn. Um, but I've already researched my sun sign before, and there's a lot of things that do speak true to me whenever it's coming to the Capricorn nature. But I've mm, I kind of get still lost in that. I know that, is it astrology.com? I think it's astrology.com that you put in like where you were born, what day, the town, everything like that, all the pertinent information, and it will pull up your birth chart and it gives you a breakdown of like everything. Um, Gives a lot of insight into who you are and kind of what makes you tick. So I would definitely encourage, if you haven't done that, go ahead and do that. I think it's astrology.com. Um, if I remember, I'll put a link in the description box. If there's a link there, go ahead and click it. If there isn't, I think it's astrology.com. If you type into Google astrology birth chart or something of that nature, it's usually like one of the first like two or three um, uh, search results there. Anyway, that's all that I have for this chapter. What was that? Chapter 6? Yep. Chapter 6, Lesson 2, entitled The Elements from the Outer Temple of Witchcraft by Christopher Penzak. Again, if you want to get your copy of this book, it is an Amazon link. I will preface that. Go ahead and go into the description box below. Um, I do encourage people to go to their local witchy shop. To help out a small business and whatnot. Being a small business owner myself, I do encourage that. But if that is not possible for you, I do have that Amazon link there for you. And I do believe it's also in a digital form. So if you are a Kindle reader, that is something that you can also do. So, anyway, that's all that I have for our Witchy Book Club series, The Outer Temple of Witchcraft, Chapter 6, Lesson 2, entitled The Elements, by Christopher Penzak. And until next time, may you have love, hugs, and ladybugs. Bye bye.